Hello friends, welcome to Java AWT tutorial. Here you are seeing the third part of drawing with graphics and mouse. In this video we are going to draw rectangle. Then we will see what are all the error we will face. Then we will fix one by one. So here we will face two logical issues. We will fix those, especially when you are trying to draw using the mouse. So you will face these hurdles. All right, so now you are here in this part 3. In the previous parts, actually we created a frame window with all the controls required to draw the um, line, rectangle and freehand drawings. So in the previous part we performed line drawing using a mouse. Now we will perform rectangle drawing. So just like lion, to draw a rectangle we need 2 points. So what we will do, we will specify point 1 just like the previous. Here we will specify point 2. So this will be our point 1 and this will be our point 2. So the drawRect API looks for 4 parameter. The first parameter will be the x and y coordinate. So this will represent top left of the rectangle. So the drawRect is from the graphic object g.drawRect. Then second, it will look for width. So width is from this top left. Then the API will look for height. So this is also from top left. So but what here we are going to do in our example, we will specify point P1 from our mouse pressed. Then we will specify our point 2 in mouse released. So we already did this in line drawing, but this time user will pick drawRect. The flow will be same. They will just click the P1 here, they will drag the mouse and they will release the mouse. So the input will be same, 2 point, one recorded at mouse press and another one recorded at mouse release. But this time we need to draw the rect. So here first input is available because P1, that's the top left. For this width and height, we need to derive it from this P1 and P2. So from P1 and P2, the difference between the x location, so this will have, let's say, x1, y1, and this one is x2 and y2. So this difference will give us width and height. So using that we can draw the rectangle. And if you see, so this one will be the width. So we can get it from x1 and x2. Similarly, height we can get it from y1 and y2. So this one will be the height. Alright, now let us perform the drawing, and then we will see a problem also. Then we will come back here once again. So here is what we left in the previous part 2. So if you want to see once again, yeah, I will run it quickly. So user will click draw line, the mode will show here, they will press the mouse and they will move and they will release it. So likewise they can perform the drawing. So in whatever direction I move, I will get the line. So now we need to perform rectangle drawing. So previously we drawn a line, right? So that time we used a mouse pressed and mouse released. In mouse pressed we are storing the first point, and in mouse released we are storing the second point. Then we are making call to repaint. So before user performs the drawing, they will click this DrawRect. So this will set the mode. So drawing mode will be rect D. So here is where we need to perform our drawing. Point 1, point 2 is already available. Now we need to calculate width and height to use the API. So here is the width and height, and if you see, we are calculating the width and height based on the x coordinate of first and second point, similarly y coordinate of first and second point. So this will give width and height. So now we have all the input. So the first point that we will use as a top left, then we will use width and height to perform the rectangle drawing. Alright, now we will make a call to DrawRect, and if you see, we are using first point dot x and first point dot y as a top left corner of the rectangle. Then we are making use of width and height. Now it's time to execute this. Alright, it's a rect draw, right? So we need to click rect draw, set the mode to rectangle. Now if you see, I'm clicking here, then dragging mouse and I'm releasing it here. So this will perform a rectangle drawing. So this is working fine. Now we will perform drawing in a different way. Previously I pressed here, then I moved towards the bottom right from top left. Now I will use the bottom left as my first click, it means mouse press, then I will approach it towards top right, and if you see, nothing happens. And if I press my mouse and if I move it like this, nothing happens. Nothing happens. So it works only when I move from this top left to top right. So if I move in this direction, so then only it is working. If you see here, so that's the only way it is working. Now let us see how to fix this and why it is not drawing anything at all when I move my mouse in a different direction. When we drawn our rectangle like this, it worked. So first we pressed here, then we moved and it worked. But when we try a different direction, say for example, mouse press is here, P1, then mouse was released here. So what we expect is we need to get a rectangle like this, but we doesn't see anything at all. So the coordinate system in Java AWT is the top left is the origin 0 here, x moves in this direction, positive x, and y will move like this. So that's the origin. So now user placed P1 here at this location and P2 here. So when we are calculating width will come as positive. Why? Because the we will calculate like this, right? Here let's say x1, x2. So we are negating from point 2 minus point 1. That means point 2 dot x2 minus point 1 dot x1. So what happens? We will get positive here. Why? Because p2 is greater than p1. So we will get positive y. But when we consider the y coordinate, now let's go to y2, y1. So y2 is lesser than y1. Look at the coordinate system, it increases downwards. That means y2, if we say it is 60, then y2 will be, sorry, y2 if it is 60, then y1 will be definitely more than 60. Why? Because y coordinate grows this way, in this direction. So if it is 60, it will be 80 or 70, whatever. So but it's higher than this y2. So we will get height in negative. And when we pass this to DrawRect, top left no issue. So especially when we are drawing in this direction, width we will get positive, no issue, but height we will get negative. So Java API will not perform DrawRect because height is specified in negative. So how do we overcome this? So user can click in any direction, P1, P2, whether they click like this. Let's take only two examples, P1, P2. Or so here the direction will be like this, their drag direction, mouse drag. Or they can click like this also, P1, P2, and they want a rectangle to appear in between these 2 points. So here if you see, we will get height as a positive. Let me draw the coordinate once again, x, and this will be the y coordinate. So if you look at here, what we will do, p2x minus p1x. So this is what we will do. P2x is lesser, P1x is higher, so we will get width in negative number. So to overcome this, after we calculate this, we have to use the absolute method. So we don't want to get negative number, we just need the difference. So once we do that, so at least we can pass a positive number to the Java API. So first let us try this and see how our sample works. So the fix will be, we have to use math.abs absolute. So the absolute will always return a absolute value, that means the positive number, whatever will be the calculation inside. So whether it is whether this calculation returns positive or negative, the absolute will always return positive. So if we get a negative number of -15, ABS will convert that as a positive 15 and that will assign the width. So here, since it is ABS, we are making call to ABS, we can say that we are finding the difference. So the difference we are storing that here in the width. So we are storing that as a absolute number. So the same we will apply here, method.abs. Now we will run this once again. We will set the draw mode as rect. Next we will specify a line here like this, but if you see, the rectangle is not appearing in a location the mouse was released. So of course the start point is right, but end point is not right. So now let me do that in a different direction. I'll move here and release my mouse, and if you see, this time also it doesn't work. So let me put a bigger rectangle, and the rectangle is drawn, but it is not drawn in the location I want. And if I move in this direction, so it's not appearing the way we want, right? So but if I move here, it will appear in the same location. All right, now we will fix this. So we fixed the negative width and height by making use of this absolute function, but the rectangle is not appearing in the mouse release and press location. Which, simply speaking, it is not appearing, or it is not drawn between P1 and P2. Say for example, here we pressed P1 and P2, and we want to see a rectangle is drawn and it diagonal should be P1 and P2, but it doesn't happen. Let's see why it doesn't happen like that. Remember our DrawRect API requires x1 and y1. So that will be the top left corner. And if you see, in the API we are fixing point P1 as the top left corner. So but here user pressed here and moved it in this direction, they released the mouse P2. And they want the rectangle to be drawn like this. So in that case, P2 should be the top left, but we are fixing P1 as the top left. So that's why what happened, it calculates width and height. So width will be positive now because of absolute. But what happens, since this is the top left, the rectangle is drawn like this. So instead of seeing the rectangle here, they saw the rectangle here in the, we saw the rectangle here when we drawn previously. So now this will force us to relocate the or calculate the top left corner whatever direction the user moves their mouse. So there are 4 possibilities. Let us consider one by one. Let's assume that P1 will be constant. So this one will be our P1. Now user can move their mouse. Let me draw the possibility of P2. This will be 1, P2, or they can move in this direction also. This is one possibility of P2, or they can move in this direction. This is one possibility of P2, or they can drag this way also. So this is one possibility of P2. So now let's draw the rectangle. After that we will analyze what we need to do. So now if we draw the rectangle, so this is the first attempt, and if you see, when the direction is like this, the top left is right. Why? Because we are using P1 as the top left, right? So this one, so this point 1 dot x and point 1 dot y, that's what we pass to the drawRect function, the first two parameter. That means we are passing top left, and we are always passing P1 as the top left. So that's why when we move mouse here, everything works fine. But here, if you see, the way we want the rectangle to appear is like this. And if you see, the top left is not P1 and it is not P2 also. It's not either P1 either P2. So that means we need to derive it from both these location. So it's here, this is the top left. Then we can, width we are already calculating, and that is coming positive, width and height. So once we find the top left for this P1 and P2, then we can easily draw rectangle, and in user perspective, they just get the rectangle wherever they released the mouse. So here, same way, if you see here, here as you guessed, the mouse release location is the top left here. So if I move in this direction, P1 becomes a top left, but here P2 becomes a top left. Similarly, if I come here, we need to derive the top left. So it's not P1, just like this case. It's not even P1, not even P2. How do we get this top left? So for any rectangle, in whatever direction you are drawing, let's say that this is the x coordinate and this will be the y coordinate. And if a rectangle is drawn, it doesn't matter where user released the where user pressed the first button and where they released the next button. So P1 P2 can be here, or P1 P2 can be here, or P1 P2 can be here. So from that point, what we have to take, so this is the top left, right, x, y. So we should always get the minimum of the x coordinate. So we will get x1 and x2, and we will get y1 and y2. So pick the minimum from these two and form a third point. So that will be our top left. So that's what we are going to do. What we will do. So we are already calculating width and height positive. Now we will find top left corner by making use of the min function. So to better understand that, let us take this rectangle. So let's say that this is the P1, right? Let's take it as a 0, 0, P1 for easy understanding. So the P2 will be, let's say the width is 100 and height is 50. That means then this P2 will be in X location 100 and in Y location. So since P1 we have taken it as positive, then we have to go it as a negative. But here if you see, the origin is here 0, so this coordinate will not be negative. But for example here, since we are saying origin is here, we are taking it like this. So when we take minimum of x, so the P2x will be high and the P1x will be low. So we will pick x1, I mean the x from P1. Then for y, we will pick it from P2. Why? Because so here this is the y positive direction. So if you see here, P1 will have y value greater than P2's y value. So we will get x from P1. So this is the x from P1 and y from P2. So x from P1 means this and y from P1 means this. So when we merge both, we will get top left. So this rule will be applicable for any quadrant. Let's say these are 4 quadrant. It is applicable to any quadrant, and you will get top left with this min function. All right, now let's go ahead and implement it. So here we are doing mouse pressed and mouse released. Now we will write a utility function that will get the relocate the rectangle start point. That means we are getting the top left here. So the function name is get top left, and if you see, we are passing first point dot x and second point dot x. First point, if you remember, the point that captured during the mouse press. The second point is the point that we captured during the mouse release. So between these we are getting the minimum. So we are constructing the third point and we set that as x location. Similarly for y, we are taking the minimum and we are constructing that as a y location. So this will give the top left corner of the rectangle regardless of the mouse move. So we no need to worry where user pressed the mouse and where they released. So we will always get top left. So in the paint method we are drawing, right? So everything is right here. So what we have to do, we need to make a call to get top left that will return the top left by making use of our members first point, second point. So from this first point and second point, which was captured during the mouse press and mouse released, we will get the top left, and that top left we will pass here instead of first point. So that means x and y coordinate. Now we are passing the top left coordinate. Now let's execute this. So this always works, we know. Just a minute, recollect, draw rect. So now it is working. We will move in a different direction, and if you see, that direction also works. So let me do it in a different direction, it will work. And if I draw in this direction, that time also it will work. Now it is fixed. So wherever you move your mouse, you will see the rectangle. All right. Now we implemented both the function. So this is for line draw and this is for rectangle drawing, and you saw what are all the issue we faced to achieve this. So it looks simple when we are first drawing, but when we start implementing, we will face all the hurdles. That's all here in this video. Thank you for watching. Bye.